am Master Firefighter Daryl Denton. Today in this short video, we will introduce you to Link 2010. First, log on to your station computer. Link should automatically open an active window. If it does not open, the Link icon will be in the menu bar at the bottom of your screen. Click it once to open an active Link window. Once an active Link window is open, you can navigate your cursor to the contact icon, which looks like a head with an upper body symbol. Click on the icon once. Under the icon is a search field which can be used to search for someone. In the search field, type in Cathy Morse. When the name appears, double-click it to open an instant message window. The instant message window will have the name of the person you are communicating with and options of communication, which include instant messaging, call, video, and share. We'll be using the instant message for our live training. To send this person a message, simply start typing, and when you are done, tap enter and your message will be sent. During this training, you can also send an email with your questions. If you have any questions with Link not working, you can email me or Captain Steve Adams.
Well, good morning. Welcome to our first trial run of virtual training. We're going to try to deliver some in-first training here, which is really important to us out there in documenting how we're doing on our calls and the resources that we need. So here today in the studio, we're going to be trying to deliver this. There may be some bumps in the road, and if that's the case, that's fine. Just give us a little instant message. If you have any questions, give us an instant message through link. You can also email, and that'll come to Cathy Morse. I'll be here helping her try to go through those instant messages and answer the questions for you live right here while we're doing this training. Really looking forward to this. It's a great opportunity for us. And please send us information that will help the experience better for you, which will help us make a better training environment. So here in the office, listen to me, here in the studio today, we have myself and Cathy Morse, and I'm going to turn it over to Cathy now to start delivering the training and start sending in your instant messages and your emails. Thank you.
Send those instant messages to me directly. Chief Cooper will be monitoring the mailbox as well as the instant messages. So good morning also. I'm really excited about doing this. I know some of this may be repetitive, but I think my philosophy is the more you hear it, maybe somewhere along the way it'll become second nature to you and become much easier for you to do your incident reports. So I want to start off with, on the screen, I want to make sure that you also are aware that there is a training module for Red Alert under the departmental folder in the W drive. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there are two training icons, both of which work. I won't get into why there's two of them, but select either one, and when you double click on one of those, it will open up the training version of Red NMX. This way you can play, you can make changes, and you are not affecting live data. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware that that was out there. The second thing on the screen I want to show you also is that there are some training tools out there available to you. Also in the W drive under the repository, and then under Red NMX Training. These folders here all have PowerPoints and different resources for you to be able to figure out how to do different things in Red NMX, not just incident reporting, but in Red NMX. The one I wanted to specifically point out is the incident module training, and there are resources out here for you on each of the modules, as well as the complete reference guide. So with the complete reference guide, if you double click on that, it does have all the coding, everything you need to be able to, if you have a question on any of the modules. It is quite lengthy though, so it is about 500 pages, so please do not print it. You should have a quick reference guide in the station, which is a smaller version, condensed version, and it does have all of the codes in it as well, not quite as much detail. But if you do not have the quick reference guide in your station, please let me know and I can send you a copy of that. And in the meantime, you do have the complete reference guide online to be able to refer to if you do have more detailed questions than what is actually in the quick reference guide that you have at the station. Okay, and with that, I will open up Red NMX, and what I want to start off with is the unit report. I'm going to go to use Engine 1's queue as my example. And this is how it opens when you do your unit screen. This report, the unit screen, is the one report that everybody uses. Regardless if you're a primary or an assist, you do complete a unit report. One of the things I do want to point out also is when you are, let's see, I've lost my train of thought. Good thing we're live here. One of the first things I do want to point out, if you are doing an exposure, this is down here on the bottom of the screen, if you can scroll down to the bottom of the screen, down here is where you will enter the number of reports that you will be doing. If you have an exposure, you will change that to a 2 or a 3 or however many exposures you have. You'll count your primary plus how many exposures. So if you have 2 exposures as well as where the fire originated, then you would change that to the number 3. That's where you would put your exposures in. But remember, exposures are only those structures that were actually fire damaged. One of the questions I still get many times is for radiant heat or melted siding, things like that. That does not constitute an exposure. So you do not have to do an exposure report. You will leave it at 1, but you will document those other structures within the narrative. Okay, so that's where you would do your exposures. And one other thing I also want to show you as well, under to the left side, if you scroll to the left for me, Chris. All right, yep, scroll that to the left. There you go, and right in here. So if you have multiple units on a call and you are not the primary, when you click on this, let me show you here at the bottom. When you click on another unit, if you want to make them primary, this is where you will make them primary. You would click on their unit and make them primary. However, I'm going to switch to a different report. If you are not primary and you want to make another unit primary and they have already removed the incident from their queue, you can still make them primary, but it will not appear in their queue. Please notify the captain of the other apparatus that you have made them primary, and they will need to restart that incident in their queue. They've already removed it, so they will not see that you have made them primary. So make sure you've done that. Okay, so a unit report. I will open up one. When your unit screen opens towards the top here, make sure that you double check the personnel listed on here. Sometimes it will carry over, especially at shift change, it will carry over the off-going shift. So make sure that it only has your apparatus people assigned to your apparatus assigned, and not the off-going shift as well, so it doesn't tell me that there's 6 people as opposed to 3 on there. So double check that. Over here to the right side, you will also have the times that come in directly from CADs. So if you scroll to the right, there you go. These are the times that come in directly from CADs. And you do have the ability with the buttons to the right to make any changes. If for some reason, if your arrival time does not appear, you can actually click on New and it will pop up another screen. If it gives you an arrival time, but you did not arrive and you were actually canceled, you can also remove this time. Now, one of the frequent mistakes that we are finding is you were canceled for some reason, it popped in an arrival time for you. You want to take this arrival time out. You do not want to click on the edit screen here. This is what the mistake is that I'm seeing. Some people are going to edit and they are removing the arrival time just by deleting it. And then always have to put a narrative in, so you can put did not arrive. But this is not the way to actually do it, because when you save it and close it, yes, it does take your arrival time out, but when you actually select that you were canceled, it's going to tell you that your times are not in sequence. So your arrival time is still there. Even if you've deleted it, it is still there. If you want to remove your arrival time, what you want to do is click on delete instead, right here. And that will actually delete your arrival time. So that's one of the questions I do get quite often is they get an arrival time by mistake. They would like to select that they were canceled en route, but it's not allowing them to do that because they have edited the arrival time instead of deleting it. So make sure you are clicking on that, and one of your clues is if that delete button shows up and that edit button shows up, there is still a time attached to that even though you don't see it. So make sure you are actually clicking on delete. Okay. One of the other questions we get on this unit screen is this, when you drop down the functional operation, is arrive but delayed. This was originally designed for if you are doing other programs within the station, such as our grass cutting program. We built this in so if you were delayed in actually getting on the truck and responding to the incident, we want you to select arrived but delayed because you were delayed by getting off the grass cutting truck, turning that on before you could actually respond to the incident. The question I did have, though, was we had an engine that responded to another area. They were responding into the station, engine 9 was responding into engine 7's area, so they were delayed arriving, but they were only delayed because it was not their area. This is not the time that we want you to select arrived but delayed. You are responding into someone else's area. We want to show the lengthy response time. We want to show that it is taking you longer to get to that call because you are filling in more or less for another engine. So do not use that. This is only for instances as I said, as grass cutting, or if you were doing a demo in the middle of a drill and it did take you longer to actually get to the truck to respond. Those are the instances in which we want you to use the arrived but delayed. Okay. Then the other thing that I wanted to show you on this unit screen is right here under shift. Especially at shift change, double check that shift. Make sure that if you are the shift going off and it has already changed over on this report to the next shift, but let's say C shift was actually the one that took this call, then you need to change the shift here. Make sure you change that. So, and that's it for the unit screen. Pretty basic. As I said, that these are filled out for every incident, regardless if you're primary or assist. So, make sure you send me any questions you may have on that unit screen. We'll try to field those as we go along. I can always back up to it, but I was going to move on to the basic module.
Cathy?
Yes.
We've had a question come in that asks, what if you're leaving a call and are delayed in arrival because of that, as it relates to that one topic on
The arrived but delayed.
Arrived but delayed.
I'm not sure. I will have to get with you on how we want to handle that.
Okay. All right. Very good question. Thank you.
That is a question that we will jot down, and we will answer those. We will follow these with some FAQs. We can put together a question and answer list of all the questions that were presented, and we can publish that as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the basic module. So this is the basic module I'm sure you all are familiar with. The top section automatically comes in. The address in section B automatically comes in as well, but unfortunately we haven't been able to populate this with zip codes automatically, so that is a required field. You will have to enter in the zip code. Section C is your incident type. What I want you to remember here with incident type is that this is situation found. It is not necessarily what you were dispatched on. So remember, this is situation found. So if you were canceled en route, if you were canceled en route to an EMS call, you're not going to code this as a 321 or some kind of EMS call. You're going to actually code this as a 611. That is your situation found. 611 is dispatched and canceled en route. When you select dispatched and canceled en route, there we go, it will automatically populate your actions taken down here to canceled en route. So make sure it is always your situation found. It is not what you were dispatched on. Dates and times will automatically come in as well. Those are grayed out to you because if you need to make any changes, the changes need to be made on the unit screen, not in here. So that's why that is grayed out to you. Over here under shifts and alarms, this is also another place where shift comes in. If it does not change based on a change you made on the unit screen, make sure you change it here as well. Alarms, the reason that is actually required now, it used to be defaulted to 1 because the majority of our calls were not larger than the first initial response. If it is, you need to change that. Well, actually, you need to populate it now. When we had it left as 1, people were overlooking it and not even changing it when they did have a second alarm or a third alarm. So make sure you complete the alarms, number of alarms in this section here. The battalion that comes in, that's going to automatically populate. This is based off the battalion in which the location of the incident is. So it may not necessarily be the unit that's it is not the unit that's responding, it's not their battalion. This is in correlation to the address of the incident. All right, under actions taken. I want to also show you, if you are canceled on scene and you have taken no actions, you haven't taken any actions at all, especially we see this a lot now that you're responding to all priority 1 EMS calls. If you are canceled as you arrive on scene and you have not taken any action, the mistake that we have appearing is people are actually selecting canceled en route. They're selecting 93 canceled en route, but yet they arrived. That is getting kicked back to us from the state. You can't be arriving and be canceled en route. So the actions taken they want you to select is 00, action taken other. Select that and then let us know in your narrative that you were canceled before any actions were taken. They do not have a no action taken code. So that's the one that the state wants us to use. We have a rash of these because we do have a lot of calls apparently that you guys are being canceled on before you take any action. So make sure you're using action taken other. Do not use canceled en route if you have arrived and you were canceled on scene. Okay, and resources will automatically populate as the other units do their reports. These will actually start populating as unit reports are approved. Estimated dollar loss, this is always a hot topic. I do get a lot of questions on how to estimate that. What I want to first point out is one of the requirements in here are pre-incident values. If you have a fire, something coded in the 100 series, dollar losses are required. Once upon a time we used to default this or make this require a dollar amount. That was just to make sure that you actually did put something in there. We have taken that off because if you have something like trash, there really is no value to that. We want you to have the ability to do a loss at 0. So how we fix that is we are now requiring a pre-incident value. So if you do have that trash fire, you can do your property of the structure, your pre-incident value of the structure. You can put in the pre-incident value of the contents. And if the only thing you lost was trash, these can remain at 0. The requirement is if we take this cannot be, well, once the pre-incident value is in here, this cannot be more than this. So if you left both of them blank, it would not work. If you put a dollar loss in and you did not put the pre-incident value in, that would be considered, this would be considered larger than your pre-incident value, and that will give you a flag and tell you that it cannot be larger. So that's what's forcing you to put that pre-incident value in. That pre-incident value is also very important to us because we are also tracking property saved. So that's another reason we are requiring that. So make sure you are putting in the pre-incident value. So we will take that, subtract the losses, and we do report to council, and with our budget performance measures, we do report property saved. Okay, the next section is casualties. Very important here with fire service casualties, these are fire personnel. For any type of incident, doesn't have to just be a fire. If there is an injury to any firefighter, any fire service personnel, this should be documented. You need to put in the number of injuries and then do the casualty report as well. Doesn't matter what kind of call. However, for civilians, You will only populate these for any type of incident that is a fire. It has to be fire related. The state will not accept any casualty reports for any incidents that are not classified in the 100 series as a fire. So unfortunately, if you do have a civilian casualty and all you have is a hazardous condition or a hazmat call, if there was no fire, there would not be any documentation, at least in this report. You should at least note that in your narrative that somebody was injured, but the state does not require us, and in fact it will not allow us to submit civilian casualties for anything other than fires. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit so we can see this. All right, your hazardous materials release. If you do have a hazardous materials release, these are your categories in here. And I know one of the questions that we did have was a gas leak. And when you do the hazmat module, and I'm not into that right now, but when you do select this and it does activate the hazmat module, it does ask for like the capacity of the container of a gas leak. And so if you have a pipeline or something like that. So we did have some issues with how do you calculate the capacity of a pipeline. The state could not answer that for us, so they said just use your best guess estimate. That to me, but anyway, so if you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to send that to us, and we will try to get the best answer we can from the state. Your mixed property use. So if you do have mixed use property, if you have assembly use, residential use, please complete that as well. It's not required, but if you do have, if any of those do apply, please make sure you're selecting that. And detector. One of the things that we did also add when we went to Red NMX is if it is a structure fire, you do have to select whether or not the detector alerted occupants, did not alert occupants, or unknown. If you select unknown, it is going to ask you why is that unknown. We have had some issues with the presence of a smoke detector even being documented. So that was one of the reasons why we activated that, to make you tell us why it is unknown whether or not the detector activated. We do participate in many surveys, and one of the things they want to know is the effectiveness of detectors. So please make sure you are checking for the presence of a detector and then letting us know if it alerted the occupants or not. There is another section in the structure tab that will ask you more information on that detector as well. Property use, select the appropriate property for that structure. And then section K is person or entity involved. Section K1 and section K2, they can be the same. K1 is more for the occupant. So if the occupant is different than the owner, that's where you would put the occupant is in section K1. If you do have the information, please do put this in here. Sometimes we may need to contact them. Sometimes a citizen will call asking for a copy of a report, but they don't have the date. Sometimes they're even vague on the address, believe it or not, but sometimes they say, well, this is the person that owned it, or this is the occupant. We do search by these names as well. So if you have this information, please fill this in as well. Section K2 is the owner. If it is the same as what's in K1, there is a button right here. You can copy it right from section K1. If the owner is the same as the incident location for either one of these, you can click copy address from incident location and it will bring it in right from the CADs. There's another button right up here in section K1 that most people don't pay attention to. If you have multiple occupancies, if you have an apartment fire and there are multiple apartment owners, but you're not doing an exposure report because there's no true firewalls, click on this others involved. This is going to bring another screen up. Excuse me. And when you click on New, it will bring up another area where you can document multiple occupancies. You can do that as many times as you need. So if you have 4 apartments involved, you're not doing exposures, then this is where you would document all the other people that are involved, all the other occupants. You can also from here copy that address location just like you can in the on the main page. I'm going to close that. Okay. And then down here in the remarks, this is where you will put your narrative in. So make sure you are as detailed as possible without violating any, making any HIPAA violations, but be as detailed as possible in here. You want to make sure that if this goes to court at a later date, you can go back and pull up this incident report. You can look in the remarks and you'll be able to know what exactly you did at that incident. Sometimes it could be 2 years later before it ever goes to court. So if you are very detailed in your narrative, then that will help you as well. But also remember, this is a court document. So if they ask you, well, you said in here, this is what I did. So make sure if you put it in there, this truly is what you did do. So that is the narrative section. Under authorization, the officer in charge. This should be whoever took incident command of your incident. If this didn't require an additional alarm and it was handled by the first arriving company, it can be the officer that was in the front of that truck. But if a battalion chief or higher or somebody else did come in and take incident command, this is where you want to put their name in. Whoever was in charge of that incident should be who is listed on this first line. Remember, making report will automatically fill in based off who is logged into Red NMX at the time. Please fill in the rank and assignments for both. Those are both required as well. Now down here in the bottom, this is a section that was developed just specifically for us. It will show who the primary unit was assigned to the incident here. This is where you will fill in if you did detector unknown reason. If you selected up top that detector, whether or not the detector alerted the occupants, if you selected unknown, this is where it will default to fill in, and this will be required why you did not know if it alerted the occupants or not. Public assist types, if you code, if you're doing your incident report, especially for your fast cases, and it is some type of public assist, we have certain ones, and I'll go back up to that after we get done with this section. Some of them will automatically populate based on what you are actually selecting. But this is where you would select the public assist type if you are doing some kind of public assist. The Fire Marshal's office uses this as well, so you'll see many of their codes in there as well. This ties into your activity reporting. So as you are doing this, this is where you will also fill in the number of like child safety seats or the number of people involved in doing that. So this will tie back into your activity report. Back to the left, reason unknown for losses. You do have the ability in the property losses to check unknown. If for some reason it is unknown, if you are unable to complete that section, let us know why you had to select unknown for the dollar losses. Special incident ID. This is mostly used for those special incidents. So the winter storms, the Hurricane Sandys, Hurricane Irene, any of those incidents that we need to also submit to FEMA for reimbursement, this is where we would like you to select that special ID code. We will have one created in there. It should come out in the IAP, what the code is, and ask you if it is actually storm related or event related. Make sure you are selecting these codes. Okay. Station number down here on the bottom, that will come in automatically and is grayed out. This station number, though, does not refer to the unit that responded. This refers to, just like it did up at top for the battalion, it refers to the incident location. So if we need to query how many calls were in Station 1's area, that's why that comes up as that station based on the address of the incident. It is not the station of the unit that responded. Your original call type, that is the nature code of what you were originally dispatched on, or it could also be what was initially received by the dispatchers. It could have changed from the time that before they dispatched you, so if you see this and it is not what you were originally dispatched on, don't worry about that. That is what came in and what the dispatchers originally received this call as. Now, if you do get there based on what you were dispatched on and your final call type is different, we are asking you to let us know what your final call type was, the nature code of your final call type. So if you were dispatched on a, and I know this says code red, but let's say you were dispatched on a commercial fire alarm, so this would come up as CALR. And you get there and you do have a structure fire, so you want to make sure you change this to a structure fire and not leave this as an alarm call. Okay, so as you notice, as I was going down through this report, all the fields that are in green are required fields. But you'll also notice all the way here to the left, if you scroll to the left, it will tell you this is what is left to be approved that is required before this report can be approved. Please don't go down through here. When you do click on it, it's going to take you to that field. If you double click on it, it starts flashing in red, or it did before we got up there, but it will take you to what field is required. So when you double click on those, not sure where it is, go ahead and double click on it and it'll take you right to it. But don't fill out your incident report just going down this left side and only give me what's required. There's a lot of valuable information in the rest of this report. It may not be required, it may not be green, it may not be listed, but if you have that information, please make sure you're filling it in. And once everything is completed and this list dwindles down to nothing, you will be able to, it will tell you down here that this incident can be approved. So that is the basic module in a nutshell.
That's good, Kathy. I tell you, we've had a few calls come in, or
Okay.
a few IMs come in. They've got some good questions here. I think we might have some answers for.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
One of them that's come in is covering that section when you're responding as a backfill or maybe as a reserve apparatus, how that should be documented on that unit report,
on the
which
unit
is
report.
slightly different, I think, from when you're responding on your normal apparatus or from your normal station.
Correct. What we have been asking people to do is if they are responding, if they are backfilling another station. This fire station here, if this is where they are responding from, to change this station
Okay.
right in here. So that way I know you're engine 1, but you are now filling in at station 2. You are responding from station 2. When I do run reliability reports, I can tell that, okay, engine 1, I won't count it in engine 2's area or station 2's area, and I see engine 1 took that call, I won't count that as a call that engine 2 was not able to go on because they're telling me you were responding from station 2 because that tells me you were backfilling.
Okay. What about the stations that from time to time when trucks are out of service due to maintenance problems and they're in, say, engine 33 or engine 35, or it probably isn't necessarily when they're out of service, it's when we're upstaffing or we have more units assigned, maybe when we're upstaffing during a storm and we do have engine 35 online. Anything unique there when you're responding with a reserve apparatus?
No, it should pop up with a unit number in there. They are part of the system. So
Okay.
if you are upstaffing, that's fine. Make sure you fill in the personnel that's on there, so if I do have any questions, I can ask where were you responding from.
Okay.
Make sure you select the fire station you were responding from. because this defaults on the screen. The fire station right under the unit number on the screen defaults to the station that it's assigned to. So if that reserve piece is assigned to, let's say, Station 7, Station 9, it's going to default to where that is assigned to. So, but if you take that truck and now you're responding out of another station, just like you are for backfills, make sure you change the station that you're responding from. So I know that that call was responding, that engine was responding in that area.
Okay. A few other questions that have come in along that same lines. Let's say that engine 1's out of service at the city garage, and engine 33 is being used in Red NMX. Thinks it's engine 1. The user needs to change that, correct?
Well, you need to, I think you do that on your apparatus side before you actually do the incident report. You will
Okay.
actually change what unit is running as that engine.
Okay.
If an engine is actually out of service and you put another engine in its place, like engine 33, it is going to actually run as engine 1 or whatever engine it's replacing.
Okay.
The only times we have some issues is if you run an engine in place of a ladder.
Okay.
So you can't change that. So ladder 21, when we take that out of service for one reason or another, you'll put engine 33, 34, whatever in its place. It cannot run as a ladder, so it will be running as engine 33 or as engine 34. So whatever engine is actually running as that ladder, same thing as if it was being upstaffed. Change the station from which it's responding to under there if it's not your reserve piece and it's not assigned to your station.
Okay. Another question that has come in about incident reporting is there was some at one time, just fill out the green sections on the incident report. That's all that's needed. Really, the idea here is to get as much information as you possibly know about that incident, whether it's needed in the green fields or not, because more complete incident reporting gives us better information about the kinds of incidents and the kind of resources we need to handle them, and it helps us address them both operationally and administratively. So that was another one of the questions that have come in. We have a few more that have come in. We have a few minutes before our 45-minute timeline is up, so we'll try to get to those here and answer a couple more of those, and we'll, like I say, we'll take a short little break and then we'll come back here. But a couple of the other questions that have come in. Could you go over when to use the mutual aid section or how to use the mutual aid section?
Oh, I skipped right over that. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. Let me open up this report here. I did skip right over that. I went straight down to actions taken. So under mutual aid, that is section D right here. So mutual aid, of course, you know, mutual aid received is any time that we have another jurisdiction, and it has to be another fire department. It cannot be a police department, an EMS department. It is only other fire departments. So anytime another fire department comes in and assists us on any incidents, you will have mutual aid received, either mutual aid received or automatic aid received, however that normally comes in. If we respond to a call, to an incident, and it is to another jurisdiction, and we are responding to their incident, that is mutual aid given. Here it is, mutual aid or automatic aid given, whichever one applies there. Now, if you are asked to backfill a station in another jurisdiction, that also is mutual aid. You are filling in at another station. You will fill that in as mutual aid given. And the code you would actually select in your incident type up above here would be 570. It's a cover standby code is what that is. Now, if you actually respond on any incidents in that other jurisdiction, once you have been assigned to backfill that station and you do receive a call, that call belongs to that jurisdiction. It does not belong to us, so it will not be completed in Red NMX. We ask that you leave them that information so that they can fill that information in. Same thing with if we have another jurisdiction come in and they are backfilling one of our stations because of a large incident. They will also need to leave you that information. If they are actually responding on a call because they have backfilled one of our stations, we're asking that they leave that information with us as well, and we will complete that report. So if you have that instance happen and we contact you that you have an unfinished report in your queue, let us know that it was another jurisdiction that did fill in for you at the time. They were the ones that responded. We'll do our best, if they didn't leave you that information, to try to contact that jurisdiction to see if we can get assistance in completing that report.
Okay.
So if, as well on the bottom of this, there is a primary agency state and their number. So if you do actually respond to an incident in their jurisdiction, you are dispatched to respond directly to the incident. Put the agency that you are responding to, what jurisdiction you're going to, their state, and if you can, please capture their incident number as well. The state would like to tie those incident numbers together, and then they can see our report as well that we have completed.
Okay. Very good, thank you. We have a couple more that we might be able to get to here before our break. One of them is regarding, since we no longer participate with the field bridge and filling out the EMS type information on there, where we want to document that, and I believe we've come to the decision that we need to document the best we can in the unit narrative section of the incident report, where we document what we did patient care wise and all of that information. That is where we need to have that information documented, since we are no longer doing a field bridge report. If something comes down the line where something needs to be retracted from that report because it's not pertinent information, we'll make sure we do that out of fire admin when that report's requested. But for the time being, go ahead and document that on your unit narrative in the incident report.
Correct.
Cathy, we have another question. Also, it circles around when the fireboat is dispatched and you have, say, engine 1 responds, goes to the fireboat, that personnel cannot be on both, so to speak, apparatus, can't be on the fireboat and on engine 1. How do we want them to address that particular situation?
Yes, that has come up many times. What we would like them to do is, unfortunately, you're going to have to split your personnel between the two units.
Okay.
But then put in your narrative, or on your unit narrative, there is a narrative section on the unit screen as well that these personnel responded as well.
Okay.
But since they cannot appear on more than one unit,
Okay.
split them up, put them all on one, put them none on the, well, you have to have at least one on every unit.
So it sounds like until there's a better mousetrap with the reporting system, at least get a person on each of the units
Yes.
that went, especially in that situation, whether it's the Zodiac boats or whether it's the fire boats.
Right, and if you cannot put them on both units, if you put one, leave one person on the unit report for, say, engine 1,
Okay.
and they did go on the boat with you, make sure when you do the report for the boat, you put in the narrative that this person responded as well, so we
Okay.
have documentation that they were on that unit as well.
Okay, very good. And one...
But before we move
yes.
on to that, the reason that is happening right now, and until we do build a better mousetrap for it, we don't want to double count personnel.
Okay.
So when we are doing our ERFs and we're counting how many people we get there, yes, they participated on 2 different units, but that's still one individual.
Okay.
So we don't want to double count people. That's why that's occurring. So until we find a better way to document that, that's why we're asking you to do that.
Okay. And for those of you out there with ERF, that's the number of people that we say we need to respond to a particular type of incident to be able to properly at least address it initially and then allow it to downsize or grow from there. We do have one other question, Cathy, that's come in, and it's regarding hazmat. It's a hazmat related question, and I don't know what it means, so I'm just going to read it exactly, and you probably know. It says, how come the only way to get a hazmat report to populate is by making the entry a 0 in the hazmat release tab?
Okay, in the hazmat release tab, here we
Yes,
go.
that was the question.
So the only way to get the hazmat module is what they're saying to populate is to
Is
select
to select 0.
Okay, that I'll have to take a look at. I didn't know that that was the only way that that was populating.
Okay, so that's something that we're going to have to take a little more technical look at. First, I'd like to say I think our first 45 minutes have come. Give us a time to go ahead and refresh here and look at what we've done. We'll be back in about 15 minutes to start the second segment. I want to say thank you all that are out there participating on the IM section and with the emails that are coming in. There are a lot of good questions. I'm glad to see that we're getting some good participation out there. This is fantastic. Keep the questions coming in, and we'll see you in about 15 more minutes. If you end up going on a call or something seems to be problem with buffering, so to speak, the video or audio, you may have to go up there and refresh the computer from time to time, and it will allow that link to grab back on and get you a little better video and audio. So take about a 15-minute break, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Well, welcome back. That 15 minutes was a little shorter than the 15 I'm used to. That's a 10-minute one, so I'll get that right next time. Just want to clarify something from the earlier session. We talked about not doing field bridge. That might have raised some eyebrows out there. That answer was in context with when you are responding and you've taken patient care, but then you're passing that patient care on to an EMS provider. Yes, we are still doing field bridge, certainly when you have a patient refusal or when the fire department is the only care provider. But again, that documenting your EMS care when you are passing on to an EMS provider who's going to take it from there, we do need that documented on your unit narrative and in as much detail as possible.
And you want to make sure you do that on your unit narrative, not on your NIFRS narrative, because
Right.
we don't want to violate any HIPAA violations in there.
Right.
So
On your unit narrative is
Yes.
the key location to do that. Now that we've come back, we hope that you guys have rejoined us. What we're going to do is Cathy is going to go over the highlights of that first segment. And once we have done that, we'll take any additional questions that you have, and then we'll go ahead and conclude today's session. I want to thank you again for joining us. So, Cathy, take it away.
well, one of the first things I want to do is I want to show them this book. This was the quick reference guide that I was referring to. This is definitely much smaller than this one. This is the big monster that is actually online. So this is why I'm asking you to not print it. This is how large this is. So this is the complete reference guide that is on the W drive. This is a smaller quick reference guide, a condensed version. It does have all the codes, not as much detail, but sometimes this is all you need. If you do not have this in your station, please notify me and we will reprint copies for you. This is no longer available online.
Cathy,
So-
the big one that's online in the folder, if I remember right, it's a PDF version.
It is.
And you can use that search engine, so to speak, on the PDF up top, type in a keyword, and it
Correct.
will go through and highlight, and it might take you closer to something, especially when you're talking about an 800 or 900 page
Yes.
thick book. If you're looking for more detailed explanation, that little search window in the top of the PDF application is very helpful.
Yes. And also, please refer to these if you do have any questions, but also don't hesitate to call me if you do have a question. If you don't have the manuals, if you can't get to it, I don't mind. Please call me. I would rather you call me than me calling you saying you need to correct this.
Yes.
So make
Very
sure we're
good.
doing that. I also wanted to reiterate that we do have all the reference materials on the W drive. So make sure to use that as a drill. Refer to those if you have questions as well. So other than that, I will go back to the unit screen. I just wanted to, I'm going to go back to Engine 1's queue, which is what we were using. I think I'm going to go back to Engine 1's queue. I'm now having technical difficulty here. All right, let's see if I can get it to come up. Nope, that's my magnifier. Okay. So,
Quit on you?
it kind of quit on me. I'm going to close this off again
Okay.
and see if I can bring that back
Just
up.
give us a second here, as with most technical things.
And of course,
We'll
it's-
have some
it's-
bumps in the road,
Of course, we're live.
and we're live. That's right. Let's see what we can do here in the next couple
All
minutes.
right, I'm going to try that again. Here we go. Okay, now, as I said, remember, if you do make another unit primary, and I'm going to bring up this particular call here. As you can see here on the left side, these other units have already completed their assist reports and removed them from their queue. So if you go in there and you are now doing your report and you went, well, no, engine 11 or actually engine 14 was primary on this, not engine 1. If you make them primary, they will not see it in their queue. So make sure if you do make them primary, you notify that captain that you have made them primary and they will need to restart that call in their queue. That's one thing I can show them also is to restart a call. It is actually Well, we're logged in as Bob. Bob doesn't have the ability to restart run. I'll go in and log in as an officer, but only officers can restart a call in a queue. So let me go in, give myself a little more rights here. All right, now I'm going to bring that call back up. Okay, so if I want to restart a call, now it is not grayed out here on the bottom. To restart run, you click on that, select the unit number. Now an officer can restart a run in anybody's queue. So that's why we limited it to the officers, because you can restart anybody's queue. Let's see, so if I want to restart a call in Engine 1's queue, let's say it was back in, I'll say it's back in, I'm going to have to go back to October. As I said, this is not live data. I'm on the training side of it, so I'm going to go back and look at calls in October. These were the calls in October. If this is the call you now want to restart and place back in your queue, please make sure you click on Restart Engine 1 only, or Restart whatever apparatus you are only. If you click on this one, you will restart this for everybody that responded to that call. So very rarely should that be used, so make sure you are restarting only the one for your queue. And that's how you would actually put a call back in your queue. And as I said, only officers can restart those calls. So if you do make yourself or make another unit primary and they have already completed their report, you can tell back here to the left, you can tell that they removed it from their queue because it will say removed. If it just says approved like it does here next to Engine 11, that is still in their queue. They will see it, but a courtesy phone call doesn't hurt. But definitely if they have removed it, please call them because we now, when we run the unfinished report, it will show that report as unfinished, but yet that engine or that apparatus does not know that they still have a call in their queue because it was not put back in their queue.
Okay.
So that is one of the things I wanted to make sure we were aware of. On the unit screens themselves, like I said, if you do make any changes to your times, if you need to delete a time, make sure you are using the delete button. You're not using just edit and then removing it. Because that does still attach, even though it's blank, it still attaches a time to it, so it thinks it's still there.
Okay. Well,
so that is it for the unit screen. Do we have any questions on that?
no new questions, Kathy, and I think we've given a very good, detailed explanation of that very fundamental, every time you go on a call screen that you have to fill out the information for. It sounds like from the questions that came in, there was only some minor questions, but it seems like we have a couple of them that we still have to close the loop on, and we'll get back out to everybody.
Right.
Please, again, phone us, give us some emails as a follow-up to this on how you liked it and what you would like to see differently, and maybe things that you would like some clarification on in addition to what we've covered here today. Really appreciate y'all signing in. We'll be doing it again over the next 2 days for each of the other shifts. And then once we have a compilation of everything that was asked and what we delivered, I believe it's going to be available later on to re-watch. I don't know if that'll be online through a YouTube kind of setting or a DVD setting that'll be out there, but we'll be getting that information out to you. So want to tell everybody thank you for tuning in, and Kathy, thank you for doing this wonderful segment for us that we're going to get. When is our, by the way, when are we coming live with the next segment? Will that be March?
March, I want to say I put it in the email, I want to say like either 14, 15, 16 or 13, 14, 15, but it's going to be the second Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of every other month. So the next one will be in March.
Fantastic.
So, and we will move on to the fire report module and maybe even the structure module in the next segment. Unless we get some feedback that we need to come back to revisit some of what we went over. We plan on moving forward to the next module and then moving to each consecutive module after that.
Okay, well, fantastic, and look forward to delivering it again over the next couple of days. Please pass on to the shifts coming in about how well it worked. Maybe give them a couple of the pointers you picked up on with the refresh to help them out with freezing and the buffering. And we'll see A shift again in March, the second Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the month. Thank you, and have a great day.